Hey guys, real quick before this review, there's spoilers, major spoilers of this film. So if you haven't seen it, please go out and watch it and then come back. You have been warned. Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron TMHD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm Restaurant TMHD, and this week we watched the new Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon, starring Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio, mainly. There's a lot of other people. But this film, I believe, was very enjoyable. It was very powerful, impactful, and I believe, to me, it was a very good representation to Native American culture and the people. But overall, before I go on a whole tangent about why I enjoyed this film, I'll tell you why I like this film and more. Back to the house.
I was sent down from Washington, D.C. to see about these murders.
See what about him?
See who's doing it. Expecting a miracle to make all this go away. You know they don't happen anymore.
Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm Restaurant TMHD, and this week we watched Killers of the Flower Moon, the new Martin Scorsese film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone. This film is based on a true story and a book of the same name, and this film is basically about a series of Oklahoma murders set place on a Native American reservation or a territory. And this film is a crime murder drama in which the main character, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, is just kind of, okay. So basically, it's hard to explain here, but basically the gist of it is that Leo he's not carrying out, sometimes he carries out the murders, but he's kind of being used as a puppet by his uncle, who is Robert De Niro. And Robert De Niro is killing all these Native Americans, so that they're all connected in a family, and killing them, he can get their money, right? And after that, there are some loose ends that he has to tie up by the end, and he ends up killing them as well, so that he attempts to not, to get away with it, but I'll get to it. But yeah, and Leo is kind of a puppet to this. He doesn't really know it, but he's kind of being marionetted by Robert De Niro so that Robert De Niro can get his way, right? And Leo, by the way, I'm not sympathizing with him. He's also pretty bad and, not great either. Really, the only innocent people in the movie are the Native Americans being murdered. And also Lily Gladstone, who's like a pretty big victim in this movie. I mean, her family's dying around her. Just everybody around her's dying. Her friends, her family, her husband tried to kill her, and it's just all around just a shit thing happening. And honestly, she doesn't really get a happy ending either. Really, nobody does in this film. Nobody. Which is accurate, because in real life, nobody gets a happy ending. I mean, I guess it depends on what you make that out to be, but usually, in stories like this, in stories like this, there is no happy ending. And overall, I found this film to be very enjoyable. The thing that I really enjoyed was the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack really amplified, things in a scene. It really amplified, the drama of a scene, or the implications of a scene. Or whenever De Niro was on screen, you'd hear that, like that slide guitar. Man, it was really good. But talking about De Niro, he was a very, very powerful villain. Well, not powerful, but just a very interesting character. I think he was probably one of my favorite characters in the movie. Not because I liked him. I hated him. I hated his guts. But I think he was just so well written because he was so evil, but he but he, like, was so evil to the point where the way he talked about it, he was so nonchalant about it, right? He was so casual about all the evil things that he did, about murdering all these people. He just, you know, brushed it aside, right? Like, he saw it as business, right? Because he wasn't technically the one, like, pulling the trigger, but he was the one who gave the guy the gun that pulled the trigger, right? Like, he was just like a mastermind, like controlling everything until eventually it all came crumbling down. It all came tumbling down, which, was well deserved, very much well deserved. But I really think that De Niro played a very hateable, a very, disdainable, a very slimy, disgusting, greedy villain, but also at the same time very interesting. Not saying that he's good, but he's very interesting, as I said earlier, because of how they write him, because, as I said, he's trying to make it sound like it's not as bad as it actually is, right? Like, and he's just, like, he's really good at manipulating people. He's a really good manipulator, right? Like, he manipulates Leo, he manipulates, like, everybody around him so that he can get his way. And, like, by manipulation, one thing that he does, he's building these roads, he's building these hospitals, these, dance schools, all this shit, and he masquerades it as, oh, I'm just doing it for the people. Look how good of a guy I am. Aren't I swell? But in reality, he's doing it so that he can get all these people to like him and so think that he's the best guy ever so that he can use them to get their money, use them for his personal gain. He doesn't give a shit about them. And I think the thing is, like, he does this act till the end of the movie. Like, he always pretends like he's doing it to help Leo. He always pretends like he's doing it to help the Native Americans. He always does it. He always acts like he's doing it to help them. Like, he's a true manipulator. He literally only cares about himself. Only cares about himself. And it's all the more satisfying when you see him finally crumble. And it is great. Great. But talking about that, let's talk about Leo's character. Now, Leo, I think his character was obviously also pretty evil. Also, while he was not the brightest character, so he was an easy victim for De Niro. He was easy to be manipulated, not only because De Niro was his family, but because, as I said, he's not the smartest guy, right? They established that at the beginning of the movie, so, as he said, people that aren't that smart are pretty easy to manipulate, or pretty easy to gaslight, or pretty easy to trick into doing these things, convince into doing these things, and act like you're helping them, right? Act like you'll get something in return. But eventually, I feel like after this, Leo kind of gets corrupted by all the bad things he does, and I feel like he just kind of... I mean, he ends up doing the right thing in the end, but he's still not a good person, right? Even though he does, testify for the government. Yeah, he ends up testifying for the government, which is a good thing, but again, two wrongs don't make a right, right? Or is that how it says? You know what I mean. Two wrongs don't make a right. And I feel like Leo really is also a very interesting character in the way he's written, because again, you kind of, you don't. It's like, it's hard to say because Leo is the main character, but then again, you don't really like him because, he's manipulating his wife, and he's kind of using her, he almost killed her, right? So you don't really feel bad for him, but again, he's just kind of so stupid to the point where, like, it takes him a while to understand that he's being manipulated by his uncle, So you kind of feel bad for him in that department, but then again, as the things I mentioned earlier, it's hard to talk about, because obviously I don't feel bad for him. But, you can kind of feel for him when he's being manipulated by his uncle. Again, not saying I do, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it's kind of like the whole film, you're like, dumb fuck, don't do this. Like, they're using you, you fucking idiot. Realize it, right? And he's just like, he's being manipulated, he's being used. You're like shaking, like, a non-existent Leonardo DiCaprio right in front of you. You're like, stop being such an idiot. They're using you, right? And not only... And it takes till the end of the film for him to realize this, and he's like, I don't want to help you anymore. And they're like, because they're like telling him what he wants to hear. They're saying what he wants, like saying that it'll give him what he wants. They'll give him the world, right? If he just does this little thing for him, and then this little thing for him, right? And it's like, just like, spirals and spirals. But just like, everything until the end of the film where he finally realizes that they're using him, and he's like, you know what, no, I'm not going to help you anymore, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not going to be a scapegoat, I'm not going to do any of this, I need to go home to my wife and kids, right, I need to help them, right, I don't need to help you. Even then, it's kind of like, you know, it's too little too late by that point, right, like, he's already done too much damage, and he's already destroyed his relationship with his wife and, in turn, his kids. So really, it'll never be the same again, even though he did do the right thing at the end. Didn't end well for him, right? And now let's go to Leo's wife, Lily Gladstone's character, Molly. Now, she is probably the most the most innocent character in the movie, because again, she's being used, she's being manipulated, and she's literally trying to be killed, like trying to be murdered so they can get her money, right? That's literally, like, you definitely feel bad for her, you sympathize for her, and like, I was super worried she was gonna die, and luckily she didn't, but there's a caveat to that. She kind of doesn't win either. Like, yeah, she doesn't end up being murdered for her money, but again, the film took place in the 20s, right? And there's like a radio drama segment at the end of the film that kind of explains the rest of the story through like a radio drama from the 50s. It says that she died in 1937 of diabetes, so she didn't win either. She only, like, if it was 1920, which it probably wasn't, but at the very least, she only lived 17 more years, and she was fairly young, right? So the reason she didn't win either is you might say, oh, well, she's still alive, right? They didn't kill her for her money. But the thing is, they killed literally everybody else around her for their money. You know, her fucking mom's dead, her sisters are dead, her kid's dead, her husband tried to poison her. Like, literally, she had so much shit happen to her, and it's like, you know, like, her, so much shit. And yeah, she survived, but at what cost, right? Like, who does she have left, right? Who does she have left to, you know, be there for her? You know, who does she have left? Nobody. She has of course, she has her, like, two of her kids are still alive, but, I mean, it's just her and them, right? It's really fucked up, but, again, it makes sense. And overall, I just thought the film was just incredible, right? Overall, I thought the film was really, really good. And obviously, it's not perfect. No film is perfect. I do think I highly enjoyed this film, and I would definitely recommend it. If you can sit through a 3.5-hour film, if you have the patience to sit through it, because the film is quite slow-paced, if you can manage to sit through it, I do think you get quite a bit of enjoyment. And I would recommend it if you can handle it. And, yeah, I think I'd rate this film about 8.5. Definitely give it a good rating, and I would recommend it. Thumbs up. So, yeah, I think I've said what I need to say. I think I've said my piece. So, guys, hope you liked this video. Share, friends, subscribe, notifications on. Comment down below how much you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. I didn't really mean to say that. What I really meant to say was if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, hate me in the comments. I've been Runtime HD. Signing off. I would make a reference to this movie, but it's like, I would make a joke, but it's like based on a true story. I don't want to be insensitive, so you know, like the Wild West, that's pretty crazy, right, guys? Like, shooty, shooty, bang, bang, pretty crazy.